Nathan Brown at Big 12 Mafia joining Locked On Big 12. When it comes to Florida State and Clemson to this conference, I'm going to say as of today, July 12th, I do not think that Florida State and Clemson will become members of the Big 12. I don't think that's how this is going to pan out. It's great for me if it does. I wouldn't mind it. What I do think is now, with that conversation at the very least being on the table, a Miami or a Louisville looks up and goes, hey, wait a second. We thought we had leverage. We thought that we were the ones that were going to be putting our money on the table and saying, hey, Big 12, match this. Now, for those two schools, have they lost leverage? And has the Big 12 gained ground in bringing on other ACC programs that might not be named Florida State and Clemson?
Well, I can tell you right now, nobody else is under more demand than Florida State and Clemson. Miami could make a claim from a brand perspective. I know the Big Ten, they're AAU. I could see them going with Georgia Tech if they don't take Florida State and Clemson. Obviously, Notre Dame is the number one, but that's the number one always. That's never going to change. So, in my opinion, if Florida State and Clemson find a way out, whether that's to the Big Ten or the SEC, then what that leaves is Miami and Louisville. And there's not a lot left. Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, you could put Pitt in there, but none of those schools really want to come to the Big 12. To me, in my opinion, Louisville is a slam dunk. If they can get them, and they can get them, even if they use private equity to pay some of their leaving, I think the Big 12 is much better off with Louisville. And yes, the Big 12 obviously has leverage. Right now, I do believe, and I don't want to, I have heard a little bit that there is a possibility that Georgia Tech and Miami might be part of a Georgia Tech, Miami, North Carolina, Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, Stanford. That's something else that we've talked about for over a year, Notre Dame and Stanford. But there are options for the Big Ten. AAU is part of it, the academic stuff. It's not all about football. And there are other options, but right now, the Big 12 has a lot of good opportunities ahead of it.
Nathan, I don't think there's a single Big 12 creator that I have any disrespect for. And look, C.W. Lambert at Inside the Big 12 on Twitter, I've disagreed with before, but he tweets this, and I want to know your opinion on it. Says, his opinion, the leak about the Big 12 talking to Clemson and Florida State was intended to put pressure on Louisville and Miami. Your mark is too smart to let something like that slip. Do you think this actually does put pressure on Louisville and Miami?
I think it puts pressure on all the remaining schools, not just those two.
Okay, good.
C.W. Lambert is a friend of mine. We talk, frequently in chat. We do disagree, and I agree with him. I do not think Brett Yormark misspeaks. So if something comes out of his mouth, it's for a reason. Whether he's planting a seed to get leverage for other schools, or he's genuinely trying to put a flyer out there saying, what if, with Clemson and Florida State? But whatever he does, it's always for a reason. And I'll also say this. It's been a while since I've been on your show, but 3 weeks ago, I think it was, there was the leak about private equity and how that might be used by the Big 12. And there were some other quotes that Brett Yormark heard later, and I heard from internal at Big 12 offices. He was pissed that stuff leaked. In my opinion, I believe that's related to the news that we're having bleed out now, that whether it's Florida State, Clemson, Miami, really any school that brings additional value to the conference, I could see them using private equity to leverage that.
Louisville and Miami, for me at the very least, are at the top of the totem pole when it comes to the Big 12's reasonable targets. I know there have been North Carolina has been thrown out of Virginia, and obviously Clemson and Florida State with the Big 10 and the SEC. Very few sources have them tied to the Big 12. Right. If you are Brett Yormark and this conference, who are the four most reasonable ads that, Nathan, you could see in 6 months, a year's time being tied to this league?
I would definitely put Louisville at the top of that list.
Good.
North Carolina and Virginia are not, in my opinion, they're not Big 12. But you could see a Virginia Tech, you could see a North Carolina State. It would be great if you could get a Miami if the Big Ten doesn't take them. In 6 months, you could have 4 more schools that is, believe it or not, it could be North Carolina. It could be Clemson. It could be Florida State. It could be Miami, and it could be Louisville. Could you imagine a world where now that's actually on the table? And I will say this to people who get upset with me even proposing those ideas. One, I'm just looking ahead. That's my opinion. I'm not predicting the future. These are things that I think might happen.
I'm going to give you a bit more credit here, and I hate to cut you off, but looking ahead with historical context. I mean, You're not just spitting stuff out here. You're looking ahead with historical context still in mind.
Well, I would say that my judgments and prognostication now is based on a year and a half of the Pac-12 burn into the ground.
Correct.
And it was done the exact same way. And oh, by the way, who is in the background stirring the pot? We're open for business, Brett Yormark. Yeah. So he already killed one conference, right? For all intents and purposes, the minute USC left, the conference was dead. But Brett Yormark came along and put a bullet in the back of their head. Now we're looking forward, and all these Pac-12 people that are now more friends of mine are saying, hey, we just saw this movie. This is the exact same thing. The messaging last year, Big 12 Media Days, was exactly the same. It was about the Pac-12. So what's to say he's not doing that for the exact same reason? If you're just putting your head in the sand, like I will say, some Pitt fans have just not been able to see the future. And a lot of people are going to come at me, but they've probably been the ones that have been the most head in the sand. Just no possibility. It will never happen. Tony Altimore.
That's are you referencing Pitt fans or Utah fans? We've seen this song and dance from different fans.
Well, I actually said they're equals. I said Utah fans and Pitt fans, but now Utah fans have seen the light, right? Now they're on this side of it and they're like, yes, let's eat up the ACC. Let's get all these schools, and they don't care. There's no personalities involved. It's not personal. It's all about business. And this is for me. It's for you. It's for all the Big 12 fans. We want our conference to be stronger. The best way to do it is to eat alive the ACC.
That is, and I love, that is so astute that you bring up the way Brett Yormark approached it this week at Big 12 Media Days, because last year there was no inclination from his speech that Colorado was on the table. He knew in his back pocket, he had certainly one, very likely 4 schools ready to come to the league, and did not give any solid impression during media days other than we're open for business. And this year, a lot of the same rhetoric of when the time is right, we will expand when the time is right, when things are right. And it looks like that time's getting pretty good. Time's getting pretty good in the Big 12. Nathan, I know you've been covering this so closely for years now. Where can people find more of your work?
First, really quick, I wanted to say one other thing. If you're a Florida State or a Clemson fan, you guys have nothing but good future ahead of you. Whether it's the SEC or the Big Ten, you're set, right? There's nothing to worry about. If you end up making a decision to go into any other league, and let's just say that any other league would be the Big 12, I guarantee you it won't be a negative experience. If the only trouble you'll have in the league is that it's in your head, it's about what you're doing to yourselves. You could get to the tournament every year. You could qualify every year in the basketball tournament in the best basketball league in the country. And then you are ready now to jump in 4 or 5 or 6 years to the Big Ten or the SEC after you build up those relationships a little bit more. And you guys are going to do a bang up job. You're not going to get any grief from anybody in the Big 12. And I think it'd be a lot of fun. Anyway,
a lot of immediate respect. I'll go to caveat. A lot of immediate respect would come from the fan bases to Clemson and Florida State if that is the eventual move into the Big 12. But Nathan, again, where can folks find more of your work?
Yeah, sorry about that, Drake. I apologize. At B12 Mafia or at the College Football Mafia, CFB Mafia. On YouTube, it is Big 12 Mafia or College Football Mafia. And we have a bunch of different shows, a lot of different characters. Moen and Wild Ute are my direct partners. I really appreciate them. Rock and Ran is a stud, and we've got a great team. And boy, Drake, you're the one who's setting the pace for us. We really appreciate all your support.
Always a lot of entertaining content coming out of you and your team. That is Nathan Brown of Big 12 Mafia. This has been, it always will be. Come back on Monday because things are about to get crazy. Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.
Peace.